Hello yet again. I don't know whether anyone is there, whether anyone is listening, or but I should never have turned it off the first time because clearly half of you could actually hear it. I have had to go through all of this nonsense of technology. I'm not into technology, but I will learn for the future that the best thing to do is to keep going, whether because frankly, half of you could hear me, and then I got chopped off again by all of this coming back and forth. So that was a little bit stupid of me. I've learnt the lesson that it's best to keep going. If you're in adversity and if you're going through hell, as Winston Churchill once said, you keep on going. Um, I should not have listened to the people who told me to turn it off again. Well, thank you. I'm very sorry if you couldn't hear me, but utterly no idea. And as I say, blame Friday the 13th, as Nicole has also do come out to haunt us. So, you know, could be Bernie Eccleston in the system. Could be Giles Corran having a fight with Richard Eden. We never know, do we? But here we are. I've still got a glass of wine, so cheers to the magnet. And cheers to the rosé, the crazy Trapé, which is an affordable local wine. Anyway, Melissa is talking of wee gremlins, and Rhiannon says we can hear you loud and clear. Well, I do apologise that we have missed out on the topic of the day, which was the fight between Richard Eden and Giles Corran. I don't know how much of it you all heard, but I think the pair of them should either get a room or do a Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, or perhaps meet for lunch. That might be the best solution. Anyway, Mr. Corran has been tweeting. I'm not sure if this is utterly mad, that my channel is some kind of lunatic place where, there we go. No, he hasn't sent any more as far as I am aware, but I don't think either he or Mr. Eden are watching, but if you are, both of you are welcome to comment, and both of you are welcome to make a suggestion. But my suggestion is the pair of you should meet for lunch, and I should mediate, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. But there we are. Anyway, enough of them, and now time to move on to another topic. You do think that my restarting was a good decision. Well, it was a total nightmare, but there we are. It's very hard to do all of this. I don't understand technology. It's too complicated for people like me. I prefer books. But anyway, today there has been a reference also to the dodgy civil servant dossier about Boris Johnson's most senior civil servant. Simon Case being the key one, he said that the government were like a terrible, tragic joke in their handling of the pandemic in expletive-laden WhatsApp messages. He called Carrie Johnson. Now, remember who Carrie Johnson is. Carrie Johnson is somebody who worked for the charity Oceana. Oceana is a charity linked to the dreadful piece of toe rag, Ghislaine Maxwell, a woman quite rightly locked up in a jail, and a woman I've been going after for a number of years now. Since 2019, I've really been going after Ghislaine. Ghislaine is a wicked, evil deviant. And Carrie Johnson, it now transpires, is also a bit of a busybody. I'm very, 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 very honoured to be blocked on Instagram by Carrie Johnson. What an honour. She joins the likes of Diane Abbott, Boo Hoo, the woman who couldn't put on two left shoes. Um, I'm also blocked by Baroness Mayer, the former Catherine Mayer, the former Lady Mayer, who's now Baroness Mayer, a woman who likes going around in her Chanel shoes, banging a charity tin. She is an utter piece of toe rag, also. Dreadful, horrible, vile woman. Someone who spent Christmas Day in my house and never really reciprocated. An ungrateful, dreadful, snotty, snobbish woman. Um, I'm also blocked by Owen Jones, that left wing whinge bag. He's another piece of rubbish. But Carrie Johnson, she takes the biscuit. You know, I did see her and her husband when they were hanging around living off the Bamfords in Edgerton Crescent, Edgerton Terrace at their home. What a horrible bunch of people to have as guests in your home. Who'd want this wine chucking woman who, the police were called at one incident when they first got together? Now they're living in their £4 million manor house. Anyway, this man, Simon Case, was permanent secretary at 10 Downing Street, head of the civil service until September 2020. He expressed frustration at the government's handling of the pandemic and wrote in one message, "I'm not sure I can cope." Lee Kane, Johnson's director of communications until November 2020, said Carrie doesn't know what she's talking about in one of these messages. Dominic Cummings suggested the Prime Minister was never seriously engaged. Case went further. He said, "Whatever Carrie cares about, I guess. I was always told that Dominic Cummings, was the secret PM. How wrong they are. I look forward to telling Select Committee tomorrow, OF star star star. No, don't worry about Dom. The real person in charge is Carrie. Carrie, Carrie Simmons, who dated somebody who I used to know. Somebody I don't speak to anymore because he was an extreme Brexiteer and part of a horrible network of very right-wing people, is somebody who meddles. She was a nuisance and absolutely appalling that this stupid man, Boris Johnson, is actually not the great, brilliant mind that we all thought he was. I knew Boris Johnson when he worked for Ken Clarke. He was just the likable buffoon who turned up to the office when we were running the campaign for Ken Clarke, who turned up and had a glass of wine and did nothing. He didn't do anything to help anybody. He hasn't even finished writing his books. He gets paid in advance. He doesn't bother. He is just like the school fool. He's the school joke, the likable idiot. In times past, he would have been the court jester. That is all he's fit for. Boris Johnson is not fit for purpose, but this woman, Carrie, is a meddler. The ABBA-loving Carrie, as the woman I call Carry On Regardless. She's got her new mansion, Brightwell Manor, where she and her husband are tearing up the grounds to uproot the poor old newts. I hope the newts come and bite her in the bum. Shame on her. The woman who loved her wallpaper from that Lulu Little, or whatever her name was, at £800 a roll while she was in Downing Street. God knows how much she's spending on wallpaper at Brightwell Manor. This is a woman who treated the staff at Chequers appallingly. She had a spad friend, Henry Newman, the chatty rat as he was nicknamed, another one she used to like dancing to ABBA with. Then there was, of course, the other one, Josh Grimstone. Grim is an appropriate name for him. He's known as the Tory hunk. He was involved with Vote Leave and Michael Gove. And, these are part of her little court of do as they're told type people. This is a woman who is known as Carrie Antoinette for good reason. She is also known as having the court of Queen Carrie. She's also known as Anne Boleyn. She's also known as Princess Nutnut. She's off her merry rocker. The girl is completely deranged. Absolutely appalling. The wine chucking Carrie Johnson. What a waste of wine. Why didn't she just drink it, the silly old piece of junk? Anyway, Lord Ashcroft criticised her. She was called out as a spendaholic. She's been called out for Carrygate. That dreadful Christian creepy crooner, Cliff Richard, sang "Where is Carrie?" Well, what's Carrie doing now? She's definitely profiteering from her time in that government. Thousands of people died during that pandemic, and it seems that the whole operation in that Downing Street was a mess. And Boris Johnson wasn't doing his job, and everything was controlled by this dreadful woman, Carrie, if you believe the civil servants. I would rather believe the civil servants than the dreadful Johnson family. The Johnson family are appalling people. I've met Stanley Johnson on many occasions. I used to know another member of the Johnson family who is perfectly decent. She's a singer, and she doesn't have much of a public eye, public appearance. She is not a bad person. I don't think Joe Johnson is particularly bad. I cannot stand Rachel Johnson. Rachel Johnson said in her article in The Spectator, people should have a bat squeak of pity for Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, she's up there with Lady Victoria Harvey in the Loopy Loo League. Absolute drivel, dreadful, appalling thing to say. How dare you insult victims of abuse, Rachel Johnson? You are a dreadful woman, and your father, well, everyone knows about what your father did to your mother, and that's an appalling thing also, and that involved the police and all sorts of other manner of matters. So I'm very glad to say I won't ever be speaking to any of these Johnsons ever again. Sticky Johnson up the whatever. There we go. The Johnson family are shocking and appalling, dreadful, appalling people. And yet again today, we've seen another example. Carrie Johnson, a dreadful woman who behaved appallingly during the pandemic when all the rest of us had to suffer all these lockdowns and people around us died and people around us, but my sister had to work in a hospital. The terrible things that she had to witness, appalling, absolutely shocking. And this bloody woman, meanwhile, was dancing to ABBA with her little mates. It is an utter bloody disgrace. Shame on the Johnson family. You are worse than any crime family out there. You're worse than the dreadful Bernard Eccleston, in my particular view. And it says a lot for me to say someone's worse than Bernard Eccleston and his horrible family. And they're appalling people too. The convicted criminal fraudster Bernard Eccleston, as I referred to in my article today. So, I think that this is a matter of national disgrace and that this Johnson should be dragged again before Parliament and should be made to explain why he did this to our country. He brought our country to its knees. Shame on him. A rotten piece of rubbish. Phase 28 asks me, let's put some meat on the bones. Why won't GM Ghislaine Maxwell talk to get a reduced sentence? Ghislaine Maxwell is the most arrogant woman on the entire planet. Ghislaine Maxwell is delusional and deranged. She actually thinks that all these rich people are still her friends. Some of them probably are. I know one who probably most definitely is because she's told me. Anyway, that's by the by. But she actually thinks that this will all probably go away, and like the time when her father stole £500 million from the pensioners and fell off the back of the boat, or whatever happened. She can resume her life of gilded luxury, and it'll all be okay. And somebody will come like a knight on a stallion and will come and rescue her. This silly woman doesn't realize that all the people around her are falling. You know, Bernie Ecclestone was in her address book. He's now a convicted criminal fraudster. He's suffering a suspended jail sentence. There we go. He is forevermore a criminal, like her, but in a different form. Prince Andrew, disgraced, paid £12 million to a woman he never met, friend of Bernie Ecclestone also. You know, people like Flavio Briatore, who had to sell his yacht. Well, his yacht got taken away, actually. And Bernie Ecclestone bought it for $7 million when previously been sold for about 70. You see the links here. Always draw a mind map of how all these people collect. They are all connected. Connection is key. And these silly people, like Ghislaine, you know, her friend Jess Staley, as I said yesterday, he's fallen, been forced to pay fines, disgraced in Britain. He won't be coming back to the British financial services world ever. Disgraced. It is time they all fell. But you are right to ask the question, why are these people not being questioned? Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of sex trafficking. Now, why aren't the people she sex trafficked to also brought to justice? That is something that should occur, and I hope it does occur, and I continue to campaign for the victims of the evil, dreadful, mucky madam, evil menace Ghislaine Maxwell. She is one of the most sick people on the entire planet. She is the modern day female equivalent of Rolf Harris crossed with Jimmy Savile. She's disgusting, she's repugnant, and she's vile. And I hope that she is made to suffer further punishment if she doesn't name names. It is time she did the decent thing. Presidents, politicians, princes, whoever you are, whoever they were, name them. If you want to get yourself out of this hole, Ghislaine, cooperate, but you won't. We know that. Ghislaine just plays further games with the help of people like a man called Jay Beecher, a man called Brian Basham, you know, unfortunate name if ever there were one. You know, Dirty Tricks campaign against British Virgin Atlantic. That's his connection to fame when he worked for British Airways. That is what these people are all about. Terrible, terrible people. There we go. So that is all I have to say on that particular topic. The next topic I would like to talk about is the Bibby Stockholm. Now, Dorset Council is facing an urgent High Court challenge, according to Diane Taylor of The Guardian, by one of its local mayors about the use of the Bibby Stockholm. It's reached the High Court in 2 days. It's the first time the council's been challenged directly in the High Court in relation to the barge. You know, this barge was full of bacteria. It is unfit for purpose. It has been an utter disaster. It's an embarrassment to this nation. I cannot suggest that anything other than this stupid, embarrassing national disgrace, the Bibby Stockholm, is scrapped. Send it away. And the crooked way in which, you know, members of the government have associations with people who own it and put people on it and all the rest of it is just evidence to me of something that stinks. And that bloody boat needs to be taken out to sea and sunk. It's the most embarrassing, appalling, ugly looking thing. And it shows a complete disregard for humanity. The only people I want to see put on it are the likes of Bernard Eccleston, Anthea Turner, Suella Braverman, Priti Patel, these kind of bad people, the people that we don't want in our society, the people who attack us all. We want our country to go back to being a decent country where humanity and kindness is celebrated, not greed. Donald Trump type behavior is not what we need in this country. And those poor people that were forced to go and live on there and got Legionella disease, that is an appalling, shameful thing. Whether you like or loathe the people on the small boats and all the rest of it, locking people up on that thing when it was full of Legionella disease is cruel, heartless, and wrong. That is just, we're all upset about what's going on in Israel with the evil Hamas and the people in Palestine also, who, the Palestinians and the Israelis, no problem. It's the Hamas who are the evil there. But locking people up on a barge, who do we, what are we trying to do? We condemn the Holocaust, we condemn all sorts of things, but we should condemn this dreadful, awful barge, and it should be taken out to sea and sunk. It is disgusting, that barge. I would like to see it set alight for bonfire night. The 5th of November, get rid of it. That barge is the most shameful piece of rubbish, and it hasn't worked, and they are rightly now taking it to court, and I think that is quite correct. We want Karen Brady on the barge, says Nicole. Michael Barrymore, Michelle Mone, and Anne Whitaker. I totally agree. Reg White, Dwight, as in Elton John, he can go aboard too, as well as his furnitureless husband, David. Awful. Claudia thinks it's worse to send people to Rwanda. I totally agree. I don't think it's correct to be doing that either. And, Suella dreaming of sending people out to Rwanda is a very unpleasant thing also. Christina says the barge is hideous. Joe McIntyre says a luxury cruise liner would have been cheaper. Yes, I totally agree. This barge has been an utter financial mess. It doesn't work. It's had so many court cases. It's had all this disaster. There we go. Guy Fawkes was still alive, I'd send him to Parliament to sort the lot of them out, says Angela. Well, Angela is always direct, and Angela and her son are always very direct in their comments. So I do respect your direct comments. They want me to give you the wrench. I'm not sure what the wrench is. I don't know. I'm not sure. Until I return to England, when I have technical assistance, I'm absolutely hopeless with all matters technical. There we go. You'd like Julia Hartley. I assume you mean Julia Hartley Brewer, the journalist. You'd like her on the barge, says COVID Radio. There we go. Yes, so the barge, to me, is something that symbolizes all that has been bad about this year. Holly Willoughby, she's somebody that sums everything that's been bad about this year, in my view, also. Are you okay? I want to hear, if I ever hear people ask me, are you okay, ever again, whenever they do, I'm appalled. I hate hearing it now because it's appalling. It's detestable as a phrase. It's so associated with that pathetic woman. And I'm sorry that, someone threatened to attack her, but I don't like her. The queue jumping, appalling, dreadful Holly Willoughby, self-publicist. And as for that Schofield, yes, I totally agree. Paulie and Nicole. Schofield needs to go on the barge. Schofield is a whinge-bag whiner, and he needs to be sent off on his merry way on the barge. Let's chuck him on, and he can share a cabin with Bernard Eccleston. Let's see how that makes them feel. That would be absolutely perfect justice. Those two together, absolute toe rags. Gary Lineker, no, I think Gary Lineker has done no harm. Gary Lineker is entitled to his views, and I know many of you dislike him, and you are entitled to your views, but I've met Gary Lineker, and I had a perfectly pleasant conversation with him. And I think what he has done by taking refugees into his own home is something courageous and good and kind. And he puts his own money where his mouth is, and good for him. I'm sure he's not perfect, but he was perfectly civilized to me when I met him on one occasion at a restaurant in Mayfair. So I no problem with him personally. You got Vanessa Feltz. I can assure you she's not on the top of my Christmas card list. I have met her repeatedly, and she's goddamn boring. Awful woman. Dreadful. So no. You want Hugh Edwards. Well, I don't know what's become of him. He's vanished, but God only knows where he is now. But I don't know whether he needs help or putting on that boat, but God only knows what he's been into, or what he hasn't been into, but he hasn't been convicted of anything. We definitely want Dan Wootton on board. That's a definite, and I believe he's moving to Scotland. I hear that's the latest in the new saga of Dan Wootton, so he's probably not likely going back to GB News. And as for this Calvin Robinson, that dreadful weirdo vicar, whatever he is, pseudo priest or something, he's been off in Disney World. He got £28,000, I hear. Now, I feel sorry for the people who gave him £28,000 to pay for his fancy steak dinners at Disney World, as it was referred to in several newspapers today. What an oddity he is. Complete lunatic. Banging on about this, that, and the other. Pseudo-Christianity and all the rest of it. He keeps changing which church he's in. Completely mad. He can go on the Bibby Stockholm, and maybe he can administer them, godly ceremonies out there, which some of them could do with benefiting from. Put, Katie Hopkins with them too. They can definitely, all sorts of others. There's the whole lists from the past we've gone through. Alex Belfield. Well, Alex Belfield's rotting in prison, and he should stay there till he's finished his sentence. So, no, I give him a pass for that, but he can stay in his prison cell. Or, if he'd prefer, we could put him there, I suppose. You want Harry and Meghan, of course. Chris Packham. He is a bit sanctimonious. Yes, I will totally agree. As for Jim Davidson, the remarks he made about Gary Glitter, absolutely shocking. The two of them should share a cell with Bernie Eccleston also, so they can have four of them in there. Good riddance to the lot. You want Kim Jong-un? Well, I don't think we'll get him out of Korea, so I don't think that's going to work. You want Anton Deck? Well, how has Anton Deck harmed anybody? They're just, I don't know which is Ant and which is Deck. That's something that someone else I used to know used to come out with. I didn't know. I can't work out which is which. And I did know for a little while, a lady who was also in a biker grove. But anyway, that's all I know about Anton Deck, other than them being with Simon Cowell. And the situation with David Williams is another situation that I find interesting, because a psychiatrist I know is involved in the case, but I don't know enough about it to comment at this stage, and I do not watch those programs. So there we go. You want Katie Price, well, she could definitely go aboard. Ant on the left, Deck on the right, always. Oh, that's an easy way to remember this. I think, viewers, you now know. Ant and Deck. Ant on the left, Deck on the right, according to Simon Coates. Now, whether that is actually factually correct, we don't know. You want Naomi Campbell on the boat? I would say most definitely yes. Naomi was a little close to Flavio Briatore and hung around with the likes of Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein and the Blood Diamonds and all the throwing things at staff and stubbing out cigarettes in the eyes of security guards at a PR firm of which somebody I knew worked at. Not a pleasant woman is Naomi. Naomi is nasty, and her mother is meant to be even worse. So there we go. You want the ghost of Cilla Black? Well, she could haunt the ship. It would be a very scary thing. So put her in the same cabin as Cliff Richard. The two of those could croon around together, and it would be creepy. That would be appalling. You want David Beckham and George Clooney. I'm not sure why you want both of them together, but there we go. Melifera is asking, is Finn selling artwork, cards? He will be, yes. When I get back to Broadstairs, I hope that he will have finished the drawing of the magnet, which he had started when I left. So I hope you can all join and buy his cards and find a way. I will find a way of sending you his cards because he is the most talented artist and his wonderful drawings with a biro are absolutely lovely, and everybody that gets them loves them. So we would love to share that with the world. So we want to help him further his career. He is a lovely gentleman and he's a delightful friend. According to Doc Savage, Naomi Campbell is a brilliant writer. I've never heard that one before, so that's new on me. Don't think so, love. Right. Simon Coates jokes, remember Family Fortune's question, name a bird with a long neck. Guy answered, Naomi Campbell. Bizarre joke, but there we go. You want Bobby Davro on the boat? Okay, well, I don't know much about Bobby Davro, but he's not particularly offensive. Harriet would like a postcard of the Chagall Museum if I go there. I have been there in the past, but I haven't been there on this visit. But if I do, I will happily send you one. So please email me your address, or I'll send you a postcard of something else if I don't go there. Andrea wants a quiz. Well, you'll be getting a quiz shortly. And there we go. Nominate who we don't want to go on the Bibby, says Claudia. Well, there are plenty of people who I don't want to go on it, but there we go. You want Busted wants the McCanns and their tapas mates. Totally agree with you. Having met Mr. and Mrs. McCann, awful, dreadful people. Not my kind of people. Awful. Bad news people. I'm sorry that their child is missing, but something in the whole story doesn't add up to me. So that's what I feel about that. And I've been writing about that since 2012. So I will not be changing my mind on Mr. and Mrs. McCann. And I did find him a very aggressive person in his mannerism when I spoke to him. So I don't particularly want to encourage their company. I'm sure they would never wish to speak to me anyway. So, and their dear friend, Martin Brunt, I'd like him on the boat. Sky News, Martin Brunt, an utterly disgraceful man who hounded poor Brenda Leyland to, the woman committed suicide shortly after his terrible television program that was utterly shocking, appalling, and wrong. Absolutely vile. And I stand by that. I will continue to call that out as disgraceful television. You know, Sky News does get rather carried away. From time to time, Kay Burley does it. And she made Peter Andre cry. That is poor journalism. But this man went and doorstepped her and then she killed herself. That is absolutely vile. That is disgusting and wrong. And every time I see him in his dirty rain mat come on the screen, I want to chuck something at it. I kind of forgiven Kay Burley for many of her past performances because occasionally she's quite witty. But from time to time, she says terrible things, and it's not very nice the way she handles matters. I won't go into that tonight, but there we go. So, you'd like the Mini Cheddar's complaint letter again? Well, I can't read you that because I haven't got it with me and I don't have a photograph of it, Harriet. But Harriet, if you are ready, given that we are so late in the day here, I think it's time for our quiz. I'll have to top up my glass. But if Harriet is ready and Harriet's stage is ready, we will start this quiz. Right, I will choose a random page. I hope it's not one we've chosen before. We definitely haven't chosen this before because I would remember the first question. In which month, question number 1, is the birthday of the present Duke of York, i.e. Prince Andrew? In which month? We don't need the exact date, we need the month. In which month is the birthday of Randy Andy? It is not November, it is not March, it's not June, it's not July, it's not April, it's not May, good Lord. It's not August. The winner is Simon Coates. It is February. So thank you to Simon Coates for a correct entry. So Simon Coates gets the first point. Question number 2. In the animal kingdom, where does the male Darwin's frog carry his mate's eggs until they have developed into tiny frogs? The winner is Bambi Debonair with In His Mouth. That is the correct answer. Sorry, I'm just moving my feet. I do apologize. Sitting with my feet on a table is too much. Question number 3. In music, which rap star's real name is Marshall Mathers? And this is someone I rather like for his tune Stan. I think that's an excellent one. I like the sentiment of it. It's quite curious. The winner with Eminem is DJ Smokey. DJ Smokey gets the point. So the first 3 points have gone to different people. Question number 4. With which sport would you associate David Campese? I can't say I've ever heard of him myself. It is not tennis. DJ Smokey gets a second point with rugby. Question number 5. Complete the title of the Wham pop song. Wake me up before you ... what? Bambi Debonair gets another point with Go-Go. It's Go-Go. Question number 6. In children's literature, which girl famously lives at Green Gables? Which girl? It was not Georgia Toffolo. Bambi Debonair gets another point. Bambi Debonair is storming into the lead with Anne. It was not Snow White either. So, unfortunately, The people who asked if Cilla Black lived there, no, you didn't get that right either. There we are. Some of you do come up with some most curious answers, but there we are. Question number 7 on English television. Who presents Auntie's Bloomers and Auntie's Sporting Bloomers? Obviously, this person is now deceased because this is an old quiz book, but who was the presenter? The winner with the answer is Terry Wogan, Paulie Gaultier. Paulie, the lovely Paulie. It was not Uri Geller, and it wasn't Anne Robinson, and it wasn't Anne Summers. So Paulie gets the point on this particular occasion. It was not Jimmy Savile. Question 8. Which English spa town, famous since Roman times, is the home of the famous Georgian Royal Crescent? I've stayed in the famous Royal Crescent Hotel myself, which was where Inspector Morse, a key episode, was filmed. The winner with Bath, or Bath, depending on how you speak, is Bambi Debonair yet again. Many of you got the correct answer. Some of you said Peckham. Well, that wasn't very clever. It wasn't Jimmy Savile Row, and it wasn't Huddle, wherever that is, or Peckham. Question number 9. Genoa is a city in which country? The winner is Anna Perkins with Italy. Anna Perkins gets the point. Question number 10. In athletics, which famous London race was first held in 1981? My sister has completed this, and many of my other friends have. The London Marathon. So the winner, who has said London Marathon, and we needed to... I don't know whether we need... I can accept marathon, I suppose. Anna Perkins gets the point. Question 11. In which century did the English poet William Blake die? We don't need the year, we just need the century. It wasn't the 18th century, it wasn't the 15th century, it wasn't the 16th century, the 17th century. Joanne Taylor gets the point with 19th century. Question 12. In nature, is jacaranda the name of a tree or an animal? Is the jacaranda a tree or an animal? The winner with tree is DJ Smokey. DJ Smokey gets that particular point. Those of you getting upset about whether you won the point or not, I can only read them out in the order they are received, and they come up on my channel in the order they are received. I cannot change that. I do apologize if you think that you were quicker than anyone else in your feed, but in the feed that is on the right hand side of my computer, all I see is all I see. So I will not be changing any of that because I don't know how to. A and B, the order I see it in is the quickest, the first finger first. So there we go. Question number 13. In fashion, was the A-line style created by Christian Dior or Yves Saint Laurent? The winner with Dior was DJ Smokey. So DJ Smokey, you have got a winning answer. So there you go. Thank you, DJ Smokey. Right. Question number 15. Who won the Spanish Civil War in 1939? The Republicans or the Nationalists? The winner is, let me look here, DJ Smokey with Nationalists. DJ gets the point. The next question is, what profession is shared by Carla Lane and Linda LaPlante? I have met Linda LaPlante. They are not hairdressers. I can accept the answer of Sweet Sue. Sweet Sue gets the point. Writer. They're screenwriters, television writers, so we can accept that. Question 16. In the children's rhyme, what animal did Tom the Piper's son steal? Bambi Debonair gets the winner with pig. The answer is pig. The next question. What was the third channel to appear on British television? The third channel to appear on British television. It was not BBC One, it was BBC Two. Now, the quickest finger first was Bambi Debonair with BBC Two. I do accept that Woodstock's 1311 was said 2. So half a point to each of them, please. Thank you ever so much. I think we have to give half a point to each of them for that, because I can accept 2 or BBC 2, but I think it's only fair that we accept both of them were the very first. The next question. In medicine, what part of the abdomen would be inflamed if you had disorder colitis? The winner is Bambi Debonair with colon. Question 19. Which former Prime Minister took his name from Revo Abbey on his elevation to the peerage in 1983? Harold Wilson or James Callaghan? The winner is Bambi Debonair with Harold Wilson. Now, Andrew Watts is saying that this is a rigged quiz. Bambi has the book. Well, I don't know who has the book and who doesn't have the book, but I've got the book and I'm reading from the book. But I have to take the first answer given. And I hope that most of you are playing by the rules and playing fairly. So there you go. It was not Carrie Johnson. The final question. In pop music, who duetted with Aretha Franklin on the #1 hit, I Knew You Were Waiting for Me? The winner is Sterling Oscar with George Michael. So I don't know where we're up to, but who is the winner of this quiz? But my Debbie McGee will soon be telling us the answer. Have we an answer of a winner? Harry Giles thinks it's a bit of fun. Lighten up. It is a bit of fun. Bambi wins with 7.5 points, a record since I started started helping, she says. Well done, Bambi. So thank you, Bambi. I congratulate Bambi on winning this quiz. I'm sure there are other books in the series, but I don't know where I'll get hold of them, but I'll have to look into that. So there we go. So well played to you all, and thank you for joining in. It was very lovely of you all, and we will try again tomorrow and with other things. But thank you for this. Bambi says she won't be joining in tomorrow. Well, we do not wish you not to join in, Bambi, because you deserve to win, because you answered the questions accurately and first. DJ Smokey says he should have got a point for the London Marathon. There we go. Marathon was a question that referred to a marathon in London. So we will see. Anyway, the answers are the answers in the book. So that is what I go on. And that is how it works. So we won't be changing the rules, but we will hopefully have lots of you joining in again tomorrow. I don't want any of you to drop out. That would not be correct. Bambi does not always win. She is correct. And Joanne doesn't want winners, just a quiz. It's fun. DJ Smokey thinks it's a disgrace. Well, I'm very sorry to DJ Smokey if he thinks it's a disgrace, but there we go. It's meant to be for fun. So pick a random book next time. I went to a bookshop here today in the Gard Frenay, which is a lovely little town which is on the hill. And unfortunately, I only had 5 books in English. One was Stephen King, and the other was Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights, which I've already read. So there was not much. The other 3, I have no idea what they were, but they were quite random and weird. So no, I didn't manage to buy any English books. So there was nothing I could recommend for you today, but there we are. Harriet Blanca points out that DJ Smokey did get the point. His score is 6.5. So you were only 1 point behind DJ Smokey. So, you were in second place by all accounts. So please keep joining in, and we like joining in. We love people who are enthusiastic and people who like life. So may I say to you all, have a wonderful evening. We've done another 53 minutes on top of what we did before. I'm sorry we didn't get Richard Eden and Giles Corran to join in, but they have been sending messages to me on Twitter. We will see what they have to say for themselves in the morning. I somehow doubt that I'll be creating a union of lunch between the two of those, but goodness knows where that little feud will escalate to. But a wonderful evening to you all. Have a wonderful night. Good gardening. Take care. And as the late, great Jill Dando used to say, don't have nightmares. Take care. Good night. Bye-bye and cheers.